When it made its debut back in 2011, the Range Rover Evoque really created a whole new genre of small premium SUV. But in the 7 years since, countless fresh rivals have arrived and the market really has developed. So for the second generation of Evoque, Land Rover really has pulled out all the stops. It gets an all-new platform, mild hybrid powertrains, fresh tech in the cabin, and a whole new look. I did tell you it was a hybrid, right? Okay, so perhaps I'm being a little bit disingenuous here, because the brief for Jerry McGovern and the Land Rover design team was to create a car which looked like an Evoque, but which was unmistakably the new Evoque. And on that score, I think they've pretty much nailed it. The overall stance and profile of the car are clearly those of the smallest Range Rover, albeit with a bit of a larger gap between the front and the rear axles to free up some more cabin space. But it's much cleaner and less fussy along the flanks, and there's some nice touches from the Velar around the headlights and, of course, these flush door handles. Look at it this way. Tens of thousands of original Evoque customers bought their cars on looks alone, and it's safe to say that this one will take lots of boxes in that area as well. The Evoque is being launched with 6 engines. There are 3 petrols with 197 horsepower, 247 horsepower and 296 horsepower, and a trio of diesels with 148, 178 and 237 horsepower. The entry-level diesel is front-wheel drive and has a 6-speed manual gearbox. The rest of the models are all 4-wheel drive and have a 9-speed automatic. They also feature 48-volt mild hybrid technology, which cuts the engine out at low speeds and helps to smooth out any judder when the motor kicks back in again. The system works well, to the point where you'll probably forget that it's there at all. There's also a city-friendly plug-in hybrid version in the pipeline, with a 3-cylinder petrol engine and the ability to tackle urban journeys on electric power alone. On the road, the Evoque has to face up to a significant challenge, and that's to be more of a baby Range Rover than its predecessor. The first generation of the car always felt more like a Land Rover, which was hardly surprising because that's what it was. The concept that previewed it, after all, was the Land Rover LRX, and by the time the bean counters realised that it would look better on the balance sheet as a Range Rover, it was too far into the development process for the engineering team to properly react. With that in mind then, it's encouraging to see how much effort has been spent on improving refinement. This is the 2-litre 240 PS or 237 brake horsepower Ingenium diesel engine, and while it does get noisy and rattly if you rev it beyond 2.5 or 3,000 revs, in the most part it's very well suppressed and pretty smooth. To get to these mountain roads in Greece, we had to drive on motorway for a couple of hours this morning, and at 75 miles an hour all I could really hear was a bit of wind noise from around the side mirrors. The chassis setup, well, that's usefully different from that of the car's cousin, the Jaguar E-Pace. The Evoque's not quite so keen to dip its nose in towards the apex of corners, and the steering's not quite so aggressive around the straight ahead. Overall, there's a greater focus on compliance, and the trade-off for that is a little bit more body roll. But on a Range Rover, and in the name of comfort, I think that's a price worth paying. If there's a weak link in the package, it's probably this 9-speed automatic gearbox. It's getting better and better in every Jaguar Land Rover product we try, but the software can still be flummoxed from time to time and find itself wanting for gears. On a twisty road like this, it's just better to read the route ahead and use the steering wheel paddles to shift gears manually. It's not too bad around town though. Incidentally, if you're one of the tiny fraction of Evoque customers who do like to get their cars dirty, you needn't worry. It is more than capable enough off-road. Inside the Evoque, there's an appealing mix of luxury and fresh technology. There are plenty of soft touch materials in all the right places here in the front of the cabin, and as well as the leather upholstery, you can have Quadrat, the textile from the Velar, or you can go vegan and have eucalyptus like this car here. Infotainment gets a big boost. This car has the In-Control Touch Pro Duo system with its pair of 10-inch screens. It's standard on higher-end editions and optional elsewhere, but perhaps the biggest news is that, at long last, Android Auto and Apple CarPlay are standard across most of the Evoque range. Another nice optional feature is this fully digital rear-view mirror. It uses a widescreen camera in the aerial fin on the Evoque's roof, and it overcomes one of the car's biggest design flaws, its very small rear window. You can flick it on and off if you want, but to be honest, I've been driving this car for a couple of days now, and I've never once thought of going back to the conventional mirror. The new Evoque still isn't going to win any big prizes for overall cabin space, but to be honest, there's enough room up front here for a couple of grown-ups without a problem. And in the back, that small extension to the wheelbase definitely helps. I'm about 6'1" tall, and I'm reasonably comfortable in here. The boot's about 10% bigger as well, so there's enough space in there for a full set of golf clubs, or a large suitcase and a couple of overnight bags. The new Evoque is a well-judged successor to an already successful product. It's not perfect, the automatic transmission could still be improved, and it's disappointing that at launch a plug-in hybrid version of the car is still about a year away. But this is a vehicle with real appeal on lots of different levels. The evolution of its design, gains in efficiency and improvements in in-car technology should have existing owners rushing to upgrade. And for the rest of us, there's enough refinement, comfort and luxury here for the car to feel like a proper baby Range Rover. Precisely what the Evoque should have been all along.